Welcome to Michael Mahoney Art. We're going to be doing an acrylic painting on canvas board today. This Fisherman. I'm going to title it Fly Fisherman 1. I went fishing down on the Gunnison River not too long ago and saw some kind of pretty early spring scenes. And here I am coming down in I call my waders my bloomers. For obvious reasons. Slipped down into the river and started fishing, looking around, and it looked to me that far bank with the willows was going to be a nice painting, so we slowly waded out across the river, in fact. Take my time, be real careful, and it's about that deep. Started fishing over there. I did a little drawing with the three bands, the water, the willows, and then that upper tone, as you can see. Three bands with the fisherman transcending all those three bands. Then I went ahead and I painted the drawing and put some red in, as you can see. Now I'm doing some blue that's going to start to look like the waves of the water. That'll take several different forms. The red I'm using was it's called a Venetian red. As you can tell, it looks like the top of buildings in Venice, kind of an orangey rust red. And then I put all this stuff. I do a lot of different layers when I'm painting, and so obviously I'm just creating bases here to work from, to continue on with. I use a lot of old oil painting techniques because acrylic dries so quickly that you can build up layers with acrylic, which oil painters kind of quit doing that because oil takes so long to dry now. And so oil painters have come up with a lot more immediate techniques so that they can finish paintings, and galleries are always asking for paintings in a timely method. If you did 20 layers of paint, which is what I'm going to do in this painting in just these few minutes. I've actually cut stuff out of this painting, as you can tell, but really this only took me a couple hours, and I've got probably 20 different glazes on it. And an oil painting would take a couple weeks to do that, realistically. So, and acrylics are really great these days. All the science has gone toward water-based, so the polymers are real conducive to the pigments nowadays, which they used to have a lot of trouble with that, but they're real good. You can see I'm doing that yellow ochre to kind of get some green feeling, that feel in the water that's reflecting from that top area. And I try, and like I said, I'm just doing base work here. You won't really, none of this will even appear the same at all. You kind of saw the painting, the finished painting at the beginning of the program, and now I'm just wandering around here. This is kind of a fun part to watch, so I left a lot of this in. I actually get to a point in these paintings where I like what I've done so much, I almost think, oh man, I should just leave it that way, but you press on. I think if I had finished my Fisherman at this point, then it would look a little dorky if I just left it like this. And the finished product will be a real soft approximation of what's going on behind the painting there. The real muted tones. I'll actually be a little brighter than the reality of what's up there, but the reality of what's up there has also been muted back by the camera. So you see I've got that sagebrush kind of blocked in, and now I'm softening up some of those sharp edges a little. Even now you can see I'm softening up the edges a little. Yeah. And I go through a lot of brushes. I don't buy real expensive brushes. I'm a scrubber. I actually like it when they're really scrubbed out a little bit sometimes. They do funner things. And I roll the brush like I did there to get the paint off the ferrule. Get down into the brush. And here I am. This is kind of a fun little segment where I'm creating the texture in the willows. And I just went with white here. Sometimes I'd want to tone it down a little bit with the yellow ochre, or tone it back, but I started in with the white, and then I'll build up colors over that, but this strikingness will carry through into the rest of the painting. You don't think you could possibly mute it down the way it is right now, but I've got a real fine brush with a pretty thin amount of white in there. The first strokes are real striking, and then I let the paint kind of drain out, and I keep going with almost no paint, creating the randomness of those willows. And you can see right behind my hand there, I've got kind of a big cross stroke that I really don't like there, and I'm wondering if I might turn that into the line later on. We'll see if it gets covered up or whatever. Yeah, part of impressionistic painting is seeing mistakes and then doing things with them, making them not mistakes. We'll do a little bit of the grass in the same technique, and then I'll actually probably try to put some tops on the waves in the water a little bit to start in with that, to give some definition. Wow. Just a few more little things on the grasses over there, and I'll do some waves. So you can see really loose. Then you'll see here real soon I start to do glazes, and it pretty much wipes out all these real stark things. Well, you can see why I say I like this painting right now. It's got a real crazy loose feel. Now I'm coming back in with some of that rust tone with some white in it, so it's darker than the white, and I'm covering up the white strokes with that. You can see I've already done that a lot at this point. I didn't want to show it all to you. It gets a little boring. I'm trying to maybe cover up that cross stroke that's in there, but it seems to be holding its own. So I might just end up having to go with the line on that there. Now this is what I'm talking about with the glazing, and it's kind of shocking, really. You have to be a bit daring. I'm really gonna mute this back, but then I brush it a little bit. I got a little panicky there. I brushed it off, but you see it soaks into the canvas. There's a lot of water and just a little bit of white. So if I was using oil paint, it would be a lot thinner and just a little bit of white paint. And then I'd have to wait for a day, and it would dry, and then I'd come back in and do another glaze. But with acrylic, you can do these glazes, and if it's really heavy, you can even use a blow dryer and speed things up. I didn't on this painting, but I do on some. This seems real daring, and it doesn't seem like that will ever recover. But see what happens even now. Even now, that spot that I really hit is starting to come back up. You can see the detail underneath as that white soaks in. Now look, you see that doesn't even look like it really did anything. I'm going in there. I panicked a little bit again. I got mostly just water in my brush there, and I'm spreading that too much paint around. Scrub, scrub, scrub. And when I scrub it, it forces all that white down in. Now you can see what happened. All that stuff I was doing is almost blended, it's soaked in. So I'm going to actually have to do a little bit more after I put some details on the Fisherman. I'm going to actually soften up that back even more because the highlights, the texture came through stronger than I felt comfortable with. You see they're still showing through, but I didn't like how bright it had become. And there's that kind of strong yellow tone at the top of the willows that is a little bit distracting. So I gotta keep going. Here's that upper edge. Some white up there. Clean off all that. But you see how that soaks in? Just mix some white in a mostly watery brush. There. It's a difficult technique. I'm really not a very good teacher because I don't know that I've actually ever painted a painting exactly like this. Every time I do a painting, it ends up being just a little bit different. All right, I'm going to be almost done here, and I'm going to probably paint the fly rod in here next. Finish up that detail. You'll be surprised. It was pretty dark back there, wasn't it? So I'll lighten that up. But you see how the Fisherman now comes back up out of there? He sort of rises back up out of that glaze. Now I'll do his rod. I put my hand real heavy right on the canvas, and set the paintbrush down, and then just drag in the direction. My hand, you can see my hand even kind of skipping as it hits the canvas. That gives me a solid base for that straight line. If I was just going to do a regular line like this, like the fishing line, and you see I used that thing, didn't I? I used that for the line. The guy's not a very good caster, but that's all right. And then I went back in and real lightly with that little brush made some wave marks. You can see there's my signature. I didn't show you painting my signature on this time. Sometimes I get a little tired of my ego. And there's the detail of the Fisherman with all those glazes over him. And then I didn't drag my hand to make that line because those are bent lines. And then there's the little waves I was telling you about. I like it. It's kind of a simple, classic, almost folkish kind of a painting, but the tones in it would be really nice, I think, in a frame on a wall. Really warm tones. And there's me and my bloomers walking on to fish downstream a little bit. My cameraman sent me up this hill, I think, because it's real slippery mud up there. You don't see it now, but I think he wanted me to slip off and get a viral video out of the thing of me slipping down. There I went. You see it? He wanted me to fall down into the river so we could make some money on YouTube or something. Well, that was a fun little painting. Check out my website. This painting should be for sale there, and you can learn a little bit more about all the crazy art that I do. Thanks again.